In previous lessons, you've learned how to create links to other websites, how to create links to points within your own website, and finally, in this section, you're going to learn how to create links to a specific point within a web page. These types of links are called fragments. So open the file called fragments.html in your text editor, and while you're at it, open a copy in your favorite web browser. And let's take a look at this page. This page was originally created for the book that I did with my sister called Creative HTML Design, and I've converted it to XHTML for this lesson. The page is a list of retail stores for a company called Ducks in a Row that creates rubber stamps. And these are the different retailers around the U.S. and also some of them in Canada. So that's what this page is. If you click on one of these links, what happens is the browser scrolls down to that point within the web page that corresponds to the link. And you click on top and it goes back to the top. You click on any of these and it takes you to that state. So let's take a look at how that works. This is the XHTML code for that page. And you'll notice at the top there's the menu with the left bracket and then each of the states and the little vertical line in between. That's this part here. And notice that each of these links is created with an anchor tag, and it has a href, and it has this in place of the URL. This is called the fragment part of the URL. You'll notice that it has the pound sign and something after the pound sign, which is a token, which corresponds to a fragment identifier later in the file. We scroll down here to Florida. California takes up a lot of space. There's Florida. We see the fragment identifier in this syntax here. You have A for the anchor tag, name equals FL in quotes. With name equals, that's called a fragment identifier, and a fragment link will navigate to that point in the web page. So again, if we go over here to the web browser and click on Florida, we find ourselves right at that point in the page. Notice the scroll bar has scrolled down to that point. And there we are, have the Orange Park, Florida store there. And then there's also a link back to the top of the page, which looks like that, with the A tag, and the word top is the content of the A container. And this fragment here has the link to the top. And then way back up at the top, you'll see we have that fragment identifier, A name equals top. So that's how the fragment identifiers work and how the fragment links work. There's one thing that's worth noting here as we're talking about these fragments. You notice that the anchor tag is a container, and usually you have the link text as the content of the container. In the case of the fragment, you notice my containers are all empty, and there's a reason for that. Originally, the fragment was envisioned as encompassing the whole section that would represent the part of the page that you were linking to. And in theory, that's supposed to work. In practice, however, it creates extra problems because many people today use style sheets to highlight their links in certain ways, and they'll apply a property to the A tag for their links. And sometimes they'll apply a property to the hover of the A tag so that as their mouse hovers over the links, they'll underline or they'll change colors or something. Well, if you do that while you're using fragments, you'll find that parts of the page will start highlighting, but those parts aren't really links. You can't click on them. And as you surf around the web, you'll see that happen now and then. And that is the use of the fragment identifier with content inside of the A container. And so I tend to write them like this, without any content, just right next to the point where I want the fragment to take me to, because that has the effect that I'm looking for without the side effects that I'm not looking for. Keep that in mind as you create your fragment identifiers and as you use them. This is a very useful tool for navigating around a page that might be a long list of things. And as you can see, it really works quite well. So that's the fragment type links, and that concludes this section of the course on the anchor tag and on hyperlinks.